Ayla sat alone in the cold training hall. The floor was made of smooth, silver metal, glowing faintly under her. She watched the other cadets run drills. Fast, strong, perfect. Their boots slammed the floor with power. Their voices echoed with pride. And she just sat there, in her wheelchair. Silent, invisible. She had lived all her life on the moon of Tyra 9. Gravity was weak here, but her body was weaker. Born with a rare nerve disease, Ayla had never walked, not even once. Her legs were there, but empty, like decorations with no purpose. In her world, weakness was not forgiven. If you couldn't move, you were left behind. She was only 15, but already forgotten. Her room was small, a pod, really, filled with old tools and broken machines. She loved machines. They didn't judge. They didn't whisper behind her back. She hacked drones, rewired circuits, even built her own scanner. No teacher had taught her. She just watched, learned, and created. But no one cared. To them, she was just the disabled girl. Not a fighter, not a cadet, not worth attention. Until one day, the Earth team arrived. Humans were different. They walked with strange confidence, spoke in strange tones. And one of them, a tall man with a cybernetic eye, noticed her. His name was Dr. Cade. He didn't look at her with pity. He looked at her like she was a puzzle. Not a broken thing, but something unfinished, waiting to be completed. Your mind is faster than theirs, he said quietly during lunch. She blinked, not knowing what to say. No one had ever complimented her mind. Only her bravery, which always felt like a lie. He visited her again, asked about her drone mods, how she hacked the academy cameras without access. She told him, honestly, she had nothing to hide. She had nothing to lose. Later that night, when the hall was silent and the stars outside looked frozen in space, she found something strange outside her room. A small black box with no label. She looked left, right. No one was there. The box had a soft green glow. She rolled back into her room and placed it on the desk. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a folded note and something heavy beneath. The note read, "You weren't made to sit still." Under the note, wrapped in soft foam, were two strange devices. Metallic bands, glowing with blue veins of energy, shaped like leg braces. Her heart raced. This was forbidden tech. Her people had banned cybernetics after the Mind War. Even wearing these could get someone exiled, or worse. She should call security, report it. But instead, she touched them. They felt warm, like they were alive. Could this be a joke? A trap? Her door beeped suddenly. A message blinked on her screen. Try them. No name, no sender. Ayla hesitated. Her breath was short, her chest tight. She had dreamed of walking since she was a child. But dreams were cruel. They always ended the same. Her falling, her failing, her crying. But something about this night felt different. Maybe it was the stars. Maybe it was the way Dr. Cade had looked at her. Like she mattered. She locked the door, pulled the braces out. With shaking fingers, she fitted the first one to her right leg. It clicked, then hissed, adjusting itself. A soft voice spoke from it. Neural sync, 32%, 64%, 89%, complete. Her leg twitched. She gasped. For the first time ever, she felt her leg. Not as dead weight, but as part of her. Tears fell. She fitted the second brace. The voice repeated the sync process. Then silence. Then something else. A sound she had never heard before. The hum of power in her bones. She stood, slowly, trembling. Her hands clutched the wall. She wobbled, nearly fell. But she stood. On her own 2 feet. She took a step, then another. Every muscle screamed. Every joint resisted. But she kept going. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Then she collapsed. But she didn't cry this time. She smiled. Because for the first time in her life, she knew the truth. She wasn't broken. She was just waiting for a chance. And someone, a human, had given it to her. The next morning, Ayla couldn't tell if it had been a dream. Her legs were sore, her arms ached, and the robotic braces lay silent on the floor. They looked like metal art now. Cold, still, harmless. But she remembered everything. The hum, the step, the fall, and the smile she couldn't stop. She tried again. This time standing came faster. The sync system activated instantly. Neural control. Stable, the voice said. Ayla took 5 steps before collapsing again, laughing on the floor. It was real. It was all real. But reality has a price. That afternoon, Security bots searched the halls. The academy was under alert. Unauthorized tech breach, they said. Someone had triggered a silent alarm. Someone had reported illegal Earth-grade cybernetics. Ayla froze when she heard it. Did they know? Did they see her? She stayed in her chair, pretending, hiding, acting weak again. It worked, for now. Across the room, she noticed a figure standing near the monitors. Dr. Cade. He wasn't looking at the screens. He was looking at her. And this time, he didn't smile. Later that night, her door unlocked without a sound. Cade stepped inside, calm, quiet, but serious. You used them, he said, not asking, just knowing. She nodded slowly, heart racing. Do you know what you've done? He asked. I stood, she whispered. I walked. He sat down beside her and pulled out a small black device. It showed a hologram of a planet, not Tyra 9, but Earth. There are rules, he said, stupid rules. Back home, we give this tech to help the broken. Out here, they fear it, bury it, ban it. Ayla stared at the image. Why me? She asked. You're not broken, he said. You're hidden. He explained everything. The braces were part of an old human uplift program. A quiet mission to share forbidden tech with promising minds across the stars. Not soldiers, not leaders, but the forgotten ones. The ones no one expected to rise. Cade had seen Ayla's drone hacks, her mind, her fight. That was all the proof he needed. But if they find out, he said, they won't just take the tech. They'll take you. Ayla looked at her hands, shaking slightly. She finally had legs, but no safety. A gift that could be taken as a crime. Then he leaned closer and whispered, You're not the only one. He tapped the black device again, and new faces appeared. Young aliens, humans, hybrids. Each with glowing tech in their bones. Each marked as potential. Each walking the line between miracle and outlaw. You're part of something bigger now, Cade said. Something dangerous, something worth it. That night, Ayla locked her door and stood again. This time, she didn't fall. She walked slowly to her mirror, looked at herself. For the first time, she didn't see a prisoner. She saw a question. What happens when the weak stop waiting for permission? She trained in secret. Step by step, breath by breath, she became faster, stronger, sharper. She downloaded combat routines, movement algorithms. She tested herself in empty halls while everyone slept. She wasn't just learning to walk. She was learning to run. But her every move left a trace. And someone was watching. Late one night, her scanner flashed red. Unauthorized surveillance detected. She looked up at the ceiling. The academy was onto her. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Her comms glitched. A single message blinked on her wall. You've gone too far. She shut the system down, heart pounding. Footsteps echoed outside her door, slow and heavy. Not human. Not Cade. Wardens. Elite enforcers of the Galactic Code. Cybernetics are forbidden. They don't arrest. They erase. And they were here. Ayla's breath caught in her throat. She looked at her braces, still glowing faintly. She had two choices now. Hide again, stay safe, go silent. Or stand, walk to that door, and fight for what she had just found. She stood and waited for the knock. She didn't sleep. Not that night. Not after the knock that never came. The wardens had passed her door. But they would be back. She felt it. She had tasted freedom, and now it tasted like danger. By morning, Ayla wasn't afraid. She was ready. She waited for the halls to clear, then stood, slipped the robotic braces on, and walked out. No wheelchair. No more hiding. Every step echoed louder than her heartbeat. Every camera could be watching. But she didn't care. If they were going to take her down, they would see what she had become first. She entered the training dome, normally restricted for elite cadets. She hacked the door with 3 swipes and a pulse jammer she'd built herself. Inside, an empty arena, motionless drones, cold silence. Let's see what these legs can really do, she whispered. She activated the drones, set them to level 6 combat mode. They whirled to life, red eyes blinking, blades humming. Ayla's fingers twitched, her legs charged, and she ran. The first drone flew toward her. She ducked and rolled. Her legs absorbed the shock, adjusted mid-motion. She jumped, something she had never done before, and kicked the drone so hard it smashed into the wall. She gasped, not from fear, but from the thrill. This was new. This was power. Not just walking, not just running, fighting. For once, she wasn't helpless. For once, she was the weapon. But her tests didn't go unnoticed. Up in the tower, security feeds flickered. Red alerts blinked. Unauthorized user in Dome 6. Target ID, Ayla 9743. The system flagged her as a threat. The wardens were dispatched, again. Ayla finished her trial, panting, bruised, but smiling. She sat on the floor and looked at her shaking hands. She hadn't just kept up with the drones, she had outpaced them. And her legs, they weren't just machines anymore. They were hers. Suddenly, her comm implant buzzed. Dr. Cade's voice whispered in her ear. You triggered the dome's alert system. They're coming. I'm not hiding, she replied, steady. I know, Cade said. That's why I'm here. An emergency door opened behind her. Cade stepped in, carrying a small black case. You've gone beyond the prototype, he said, kneeling beside her. You need the next upgrade. He opened the case, revealing 2 shimmering discs. These will link your legs directly to your spinal cord, bypassing neural lag. It will hurt, he warned. Good, she said. That means it's real. The procedure took 2 minutes. The pain, instant and sharp. But when it was done, her legs felt different. Not like tech, like instinct. Outside, metal footsteps approached. Heavy, uniform, cold. The wardens were here. Ayla stood and faced the door. Cade stayed behind, watching, proud but silent. She turned her head. They'll come for you too. He smiled slightly. They already have. The door exploded open, and 3 armored wardens entered. Black suits, glowing visors, stun cannons ready. Subject Ayla 9743, surrender the cybernetics, one said. Or we will extract them. She didn't answer. She just ran. The world blurred around her. Faster than gravity, faster than her own thoughts. She zigzagged through the arena, the wardens missing every shot. One tried to grab her. She slid under him and kicked upward, launching him into the air. Another aimed a sonic blast. She jumped off the wall, flipped, and landed behind him before he could turn. The third tried to corner her. She hit full sprint, and for a moment, she flew. 1 hit, 2 hits, 3, and the arena fell silent again. She stood in the middle, heart racing, legs glowing. The wardens were down, unconscious but alive. Alarms screamed around her. But inside, there was only quiet, only peace. She looked back at Cade. I don't want to run, she said. Not anymore. Then don't, he replied, stepping forward. Let's build something instead. She used to dream of standing. Now she was flying through a simulation built for elite warriors. Her feet barely touched the ground. Her body moved faster than thought. She was no longer just walking. She was becoming something else. It had been 2 weeks since the warden incident. The academy labeled it an equipment malfunction. The wardens were reassigned quietly. No one talked about it. But everyone started looking at Ayla differently. Some stared in awe, some in fear, some with hatred that grew behind forced smiles. No one knew exactly what she was, but they all knew she wasn't like them anymore. Dr. Cade had moved her to the Hidden Earth sector, buried under the academy's outer walls. There, away from the cameras, she trained with other outcasts. Not just humans, but hybrids. Aliens with Earth-designed upgrades. Each unique, each dangerous, each illegal. And every one of them had a story like hers. Pain, exile, then power. They welcomed Ayla like family. No pity, no whispers. Just respect. She was the first from Tyra 9. The first to break the system. They called her gravestone. Because she had broken the weight of gravity and risen from it. Her legs were no longer braces. They were now bio-integrated exomuscles, linked directly into her nervous system. They adapted to her emotions, shifted shape mid-run, pulsed with memory. She could now dodge plasma rounds, wall run across training zones, launch herself across canyons. But it wasn't the power that changed her. It was the silence, the quiet inside her mind, where fear used to live. Now there was only fire. But fire draws attention. During a joint training session with elite cadets, Ayla outperformed all of them. Not just by a little, by a landslide. She didn't just pass the test. She broke the record. And that record belonged to Commander Saran, the highest-ranked Tyra 9 officer in the academy. He watched from the stands, stone-faced, arms crossed. The look of a man who knew something dangerous had just walked into his clean, ordered world. Later that night, Ayla found a note slipped under her door. One sentence. You are not one of us, and you never will be. No name, but the message was clear. She crumpled the note and burned it using the heat coils in her palms. Cade watched quietly. "They're scared," he said. "That means you're doing something right." "But I don't want to lead a war," she said. "I just want to be seen." He nodded slowly. "Then show them what you are." The very next day, Ayla entered the interplanetary combat sim without permission. Dozens of cadets and officers were watching. She walked past them, head high, robotic legs glowing. Some whispered, some laughed. Others recorded her with their visors. She didn't flinch. The trial began. 60 seconds, 100 drones, one arena. No weapons, just survival. Most cadets took 30 seconds to even react. Ayla moved on the first beat. She weaved, flipped, dodged, smashed. Her legs turned mid-air, absorbing hits, redirecting force. She grabbed one drone, used it as a shield, then launched it like a cannonball into the others. The audience was silent. Even the machines seemed confused. The system had never seen movement like this. Like she was part gravity, part flame, part storm. She finished in 58 seconds. No injuries, no hesitations. The lights dimmed, the silence stretched. Then, one clap. Then two. Then the room erupted. But not everyone was cheering. Back in the shadows of the command tower, Commander Saran spoke quietly into his calm. "She's not a cadet," he said. "She's a threat." Orders were issued. Not to arrest her, not yet, but to find out how much she knows. And who's helping her? Because if she kept rising, others would follow. And if that happened, the old systems would fall. It started with silence. Not the quiet kind. The heavy kind, when something is wrong and you don't know what yet. Ayla woke up to a dark screen. Her comms were offline. No pings, no notifications, no training schedules. Just a blinking red dot in the corner. Restricted access. She tried to override it, denied. She tried again, blocked. The system had shut her out. And that only meant one thing. Something had happened to Cade. She dressed fast, clipped on her legs, and ran. The halls felt colder. The guards stared longer. She reached the Earth sector, locked down. Security bots hovered near the door like flies over a fresh wound. No signs of entry. No signs of life. She tapped into a hidden side port, her last backup line. A tiny screen blinked on. The words burned her chest like ice. Dr. Cade. Detained. Code 44. Tech violation. They got him. Not expelled. Not fired. Detained. Which meant he was in the core. The lowest, darkest part of the academy, where secrets went to die. Ayla backed away from the terminal, breathing fast. This wasn't just about her legs anymore. This was a move against everything Cade stood for. That night, she returned to her quarters. No training, no music, no movement. She sat on the floor with her legs powered off. Just her and her thoughts. She remembered the first time he spoke to her. The first time someone looked at her and didn't see less. He saw potential. Now the system saw him as a threat. She could feel it in her bones. They were coming for her next. But they didn't send soldiers. They sent a choice. A black uniformed officer entered her room without a word. He placed a thin folder on her desk, then turned to leave. No threats, no cuffs. Just one sentence. "You can keep your legs," he said, "if you give us the names." She opened the folder. Inside, images of other hybrids. Her team, her friends. All marked, all tagged, all in danger. Her heart twisted. They weren't after Cade. They were after the movement. The belief that anyone, even the broken, could rise. She stared at the folder for hours. Her legs powered on automatically as night fell. They pulsed softly, waiting for her decision. She burned the folder. Then activated Ghost Protocol, the system Cade had taught her in case things ever got bad. It erased her location, changed her ID tag, and sent one final message. "I won't run." She snuck back into the Earth sector using a service tunnel no one had touched in years. Past the dust, past the mold, past the memories. She found a hidden terminal behind Cade's lab wall. And what she found inside changed everything. Blueprints, test logs, secret communications. Not just about her, but about dozens like her. And one file that stopped her breath. Project HFY L1FE, Hybrid Youth Life Form Integration for Evolution. It wasn't just a training mission. It was a blueprint for a new kind of being. A new kind of future. Not just human, not alien, but both. And Ayla was prototype number 01. She wasn't just chosen. She was built. By Cade, by his team, by a belief that something better could exist, not ruled by planets, borders, or species, but by will and fire and choice. She clenched her fists. They wanted to make her an example, but she would become something else instead, a signal. If they took Cade, she'd make sure the whole galaxy knew why. If they buried the program, she'd resurrect it. Piece by piece, code by code, limb by limb. Because they were right about one thing. She wasn't one of them. She was more. The screens lit up across the entire academy. Cafeterias, training domes, command rooms, even the Airbus hangars. Every monitor blinked, glitched, and then cut to black. A loading bar crawled across the screen. Then came the voice, soft but strong. You were never afraid of my legs. You were afraid of where they could take me. Gasps rippled through the halls. On screen stood Ayla, not in a wheelchair, not in a training suit, but in full hybrid armor, her robotic legs glowing like lightning. Her voice shook no more. Her eyes burned with clarity. This is not rebellion, she said. This is evolution. And just like that, she hijacked the system. In real time, every person in the academy saw the truth. Footage of her walking for the first time, the wardens attacking her, Dr. Cade being dragged away in cuffs, the list of other hybrids the government tried to silence. One by one, truth replaced lies. You fear what you can't control, she said. But we're done asking for permission. The broadcast ended with one sentence. I'll see you in the trials. Then the screens shattered into static. Ayla stood in the shadows of the abandoned launch bay. Her heart pounded, but she didn't regret it. The message was sent. And now, there was no going back. She turned to the others, her team, her kind. Each one upgraded, each one hunted. They wore no badges, no uniforms. Just scars and steel and silence. One spoke, a human boy with a metal spine. Think they'll let you enter the trials now? Ayla smiled. They won't have a choice. The next day, chaos, everywhere. Security scrambled. Protocols failed. The Academy Council held an emergency session. Half wanted to erase the hybrids. Half knew it was too late. The public had seen the broadcast. And they weren't angry. They were inspired. Messages poured in from other systems. Other disabled cadets, young aliens, outcasts, all asking the same thing. Where can we get tech like hers? The council froze. Ayla hadn't just hacked their system. She'd hacked their control. Now she wasn't a student. She was a symbol. Meanwhile, in the arena, the galactic trials were starting. The most dangerous competition in the known systems. Speed, strength, tactics, survival. Broadcast to billions. Ayla wasn't on the list. Her name had been blacked out, deleted. But when the gates opened, she walked in anyway. The crowd went silent. She stood at the center, legs shining under the sun. Armor cracked, battle-worn, eyes sharp. A comm buzzed in her ear. You are not cleared for competition. She didn't answer. She raised her arm and activated her neural link. The arena responded. It accepted her DNA. Not because the council said yes, but because the system recognized her power. And it always did what power demanded. The crowd erupted. Some cheered, some screamed, but all watched. Challenge accepted. The trial begins. She ran like fire. Faster than bullets, sharper than blades. Obstacles shattered beneath her kicks. Drones couldn't track her movement. Other cadets dropped out, stunned by her speed. She didn't stop, didn't flinch, didn't fall. This was no test. This was a message. Not, look what I can do, but look what you tried to stop. At the final stage, a 100-meter vertical wall, Ayla didn't climb. She sprinted upward. Her legs adapted instantly, magnetic pulses launching her like a rocket. She reached the top and didn't even look back. She had broken the wall. She had broken gravity. And the world saw her do it. Elsewhere, in the dark, Commander Saran watched the feed, jaw clenched. She's becoming more than a threat, he muttered. An aide beside him asked, should we eliminate her? Saran shook his head. No, he said. We use her. Let the people crown her a hero. Then we remind them heroes can fall. Back in the arena, Ayla raised her hand in victory. The crowd roared. Some with joy, some with rage. But all eyes were on the hybrid girl who flew. She looked straight into the nearest drone camera and whispered, this is only the beginning. Far from the academy, in a small colony dome on the edge of a mining planet, a little girl sat in a wheelchair, watching a flickering holoscreen. Her legs were wrapped in braces, her fingers stained with grease from tinkering with old tech. She had never walked. Until today, she never thought she would. On screen, Ayla stood at the edge of the galactic arena. Crowds behind her, stars above her, dust on her armor, light in her eyes. And in that moment, she wasn't just a fighter. She was proof. The girl leaned forward as Ayla spoke. They told me I was weak. They told me I was broken. And then I broke everything they built to hold me down. The crowd behind her roared. But in that small room across the galaxy, one silent tear rolled down the little girl's face. Not sadness. Hope. Back at the academy, the council had no more excuses. They couldn't delete her, silence her, or cage her anymore. Because now, she belonged to the people. The movement exploded. Hybrid requests surged from over 200 colonies. Former outcasts became instructors. Other uplift projects hidden by the Earth Alliance came to light. Ayla didn't just win a trial. She flipped the system. But even in victory, she didn't rest. Instead of staying in the spotlight, she left the arena before sunrise. Quietly, like always. Not to run, but to build. She returned to Tyra, 9. The place where her story began. The place that once buried her, now begged her to speak. When she stepped onto the landing platform, people stared in silence. Some bowed, some cried. None looked away. In the old training center, now renamed the Hybrid Academy, Ayla gave her first speech. Simple, short, and final. We weren't meant to fit in. We were meant to break through. Dr. Cade watched from the crowd, older now, scarred, but free. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Everything she had become, she earned herself. He only gave her the key. She built the door, kicked it down, and turned it into a bridge. Months passed, then years. But the world didn't forget. The trials were changed, now open to hybrids, disabled youth, and exiles from every race. New tech laws were passed, and the academy installed a statue, not of a general, not of a council leader, but of a 15-year-old girl in motion, mid-run, legs glowing. Underneath the statue, one line was carved. She walked so others could run. Some still feared the hybrids. Some whispered of rebellion. But the whispers faded every time a child like the one on the mining colony took their first steps. Not in fear, but in fire. Ayla never returned to the arena. She didn't need to. Her fight wasn't in crowds or combat anymore. It was in classrooms, workshops, hospitals, anywhere a child had been told they'd never move again. She taught them to build, to adapt, to imagine. And when they asked how she started, she always said the same thing. I stopped listening. And in the quiet moments, late at night, when the stars above Tyra, 9 blinked like old memories, she would power down her legs, lie in silence, and smile. Because somewhere, across the stars, a kid just stood for the first time and never sat down again.